You know, it's almost like your birthday with a package from China, so let's go. But let's talk about the product itself and the overall quality and what is my personal experience when it comes to this device. First of all, I find it quite fascinating that this device is so small form factor and still has the capabilities to run a lot of different games. But one of the downsides you're going to get with a smaller device is a smaller battery. And that is something that I found a little bit of the biggest bummer that we're going to find when it comes to this new Neo model. So while holding this handheld in my hands, I must say that feels quite comfortable. That's my first, let's say, thing that I already noticed. And the overall quality is similar to all the other products I've reviewed in the past. So one of the things that I find very cool with Neo is just the form factor, especially the back. The gives us just a very nice, comfortable way to play. And power basically over here at the side where I can leave my fingers in and give this thing a very stable and very comfortable way to play. But there were some things that I do find a little bit interesting compared with all the other models. The configuration is similar to the previous models of the Neo, only the buttons have been placed in a different position. So when it comes to Neo, and that is similar to the Nintendo Switch, you do have these very tiny buttons. And to be honest, I am not the biggest fan of them, but they're not like super bad or uncomfortable. What is also very interesting is the joystick they're using. You can see at the side they have these extra rubber compound with a grip, and that's very comfortable. The form factor is absolutely great, but what I noticed is it does have like a very nice tension to it when it comes to the travel, but also the travel is quite short. So the overall experience is quite different when looking at different handhelds I've reviewed. The overall quality of the buttons is absolutely great. Not the form factor, yeah, it's tiny, that's one thing to be sure. And comparing them with my very thick fat finger, yeah, it's not going to be the most comfortable thing to play. But when you're pressing it, you can just feel these long travel membrane buttons are very nice. Another part I personally really liked about this new Neo is just the D-pad and how it feels and plays. It has a very nice, really cool smushy effect to it. I really love how this actually plays. It does like a very long travel, but I can tell you playing fighting games I had no problems whatsoever. And underneath they made a decision to put all the other buttons where we have different and bigger models, they put them mostly at the side over here. It's not a big of a deal, they give it a different position, and these buttons are pressing start, select, and of course bringing on the Neo like menu itself. So in overall the form factor and the button placement is absolutely great. I have no problem whatsoever using the D-pad or the analog stick, because the form factor, everything has been squeezed together, and that is, let's say, not a really bad thing, to be honest. But how will that basically hold up against, like I say, an Odin? An Odin having a similar kind of a style. The only big difference that we're going to get when you're looking at the Odin, this thing is very slimmed down, and you have these very nice grip at the side. I always find this a very nice, very cool like device. But I must say that even this thing is heavier and also as thicker. This thing plays so much more comfortable when it comes to the Odin, for example. Even these things have a lot of similarities when it comes to the button placement and stuff like that. But the weight itself of the Odin is 372 grams. And when we're going to get ourselves like the beefy other device, there we're going to get ourselves 516. So it's not a huge difference, but I can tell you, you need to go to the gym and train some hands because you're going to need it. And for a very long play session, yeah, you're absolutely going to be having the feeling that you're holding something heavy. So I think this is absolutely one of the sweet spots when it comes to the Odin. 350, 400 grams. Above that, you're going to absolutely feel it over time when you're going to play for a very long time. So where this new model is over 600 grams and is maybe the heaviest and the biggest of them, I think, and also a thing you need to take consideration when a device is getting bigger, sometimes it's even more comfortable to hold. And that is the thing that I've noticed with these two. So when you're looking at this particular model, it's absolutely great, but because of the form factor, it's smaller, you need to hold it differently, then the weight is also important when it comes to that. But what are we actually going to get more? At the bottom we're going to get ourselves different connections and the stereo speakers. To begin with, the stereo speakers, they sound absolutely amazing. But it is what quite interesting is that they're not forward facing like tiny speakers and they still sound absolutely amazing. Most of the time I put around 80% volume to get the best experience. At the bottom we're going to get ourselves the jack and the Type-C connection, and we do have the option to expand the memory, or basically add another memory. And I can tell you, you're going to need it because the 512GB is absolutely not enough. At the top, I'm going to find another Type-C connection, volume control, an on-off switch, and of course you're having the exhaust over here. To give you an example how loud the fan will go if you're going to get into the maximum performance of the device itself. And here we're going to find the fan itself, and here we're going to get yourself the fresh air for cooling the device. The biggest downside I find already is that we're only having 2 connections or Type-Cs to connect ourselves hardware. Let's start with Dirt 5. So this is a particular game that you need to tweak getting this on the go ready. So first of all, I have set it to the full HD, or better said 1080p resolution, but beside that every single settings have been set to low, or better said very low. But what you're going to get, this game still looks amazing in my opinion, and we're going to get ourselves like a 48, 50 FPS, even like peaks to 60 sometimes. So it's still playable, and we can just enjoy this on the go. But take consideration, we're using the maximum wattage over here, and oh boy, this thing sounds like a vacuum cleaner. So one of the things I'm going to play a lot on this device is just indie games. One of the reasons is because it doesn't need a lot of wattage and the power from the device. So I think this is so much more convenient. You can play longer sessions, and in my opinion it looks just great. Another thing is the D-pad. I love it. Just going to be honest, I love this freaking D-pad. It is so very comfortable to play when it comes to these games. It's even more an old school retro feeling than the analog stick. But both have been placed in a very good position. So when it comes to Tekken 7, I just wanted to see how far we can push this machine. The reason why is very simple. In the previous videos I tested out different kind of Neo products, and I noticed that you could play them on full 60 FPS. And with this tinier model I did see some minor dips all the way down to 45. A little bit bummer, in my opinion it's still playable. You can tweak the settings. Now it has been set to full HD and even having the option to all settings set to high. So there is still room for improvement, or better said improvement, when it comes to like tweaking the game itself. So that is a positive thing, but this game is playable with some tweaks in the end. Mainly I will use this device for older fighting games, but also indie games, simply because they run absolutely great on here. This weird game doesn't even support the full HD resolution, but it comes close and it does look amazing. Oh man, mess it up. Nevertheless, it does have a great performance, and I can really enjoy some Mortal Kombat on here. Where I love myself some AAA games here on this device to bring with me. I think mainly it's just a very cool device to play some old school indie games and put them on full HD resolution and the best graphics you can get. Another thing you can do when it comes to the ANEO, you can just basically get it all the way to Pro mode maybe. And the reason why, you don't need the extreme power of the device itself to run these indie games. So that's going to be way more convenient if you just want to play for a longer session.